All right, good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, February 6th, 2025. It is 10:01 now. All council members, this is our regularly scheduled management and planning session. All council members are present, including town attorney, town manager, and town clerk. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, today's discussion will be the strategic planning workshop. Cook, you want to come on up and introduce yourself? Can't hear us?
Yeah, Angela's not the one who's online. Her family came down with influenza
Oh.
A. Her
Okay.
husband and
Hey.
dad, so she said, I'll just keep my germs and. Can you
And-
hear us now?
Angela, can you hear us now? She's muted. You're muted, Angela.
Can't hear yet. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Angela, do you want to unmute and see if you can talk to us? No worries, don't delay. Okay, sounds good. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Tina Fisher. I'm with Collaborative Labs at St. Petersburg College. We partner with Angela Christ and her team from USF, Florida Institute of Government. We're your conveners, your facilitation experts. So whenever she has to get a group together to gather some ideas, she pulls in Collaborative Labs. So happy to be here. Sorry Angela can't be here in person, but she'll be here for the next one. So first of all, can you switch to the slides, please, Josh? All right. All right, let's go ahead and I switched the QR code just so it would be private for y'all.
Okay.
Keep going. Working. Polling. I will say it into the microphone. We're going to use the Poll Everywhere QR code because we're going to collect some ideas. We're a very technology-forward collaboration group. So instead of using sticky paper and Post-it notes, we use our polling technology. So we just want to make sure if you could activate that poll, Josh, so we can click their name. So please, you can skip registration, but please log in with your name.
Okay, so it's going to show. Hi, I'm Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
So it's going to show their name and what their comments are. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
So do you need to get the app?
You do not need the app.
Okay. So I can just skip that part. But do you register?
You do not need to register, but do put your name in.
Okay.
You want to come make sure?
I chose John R. Kennedy.
And that just holds us in a holding pattern for now?
So what Dan
Once you put your
Diego
name in?
Yes.
Okay.
And if it logs out again, use the QR code again. I'm just, this is just my technology test to make sure everybody can get in before we go into the fun brainstorming part. Got 3 in.
So just for the record, so all this does is just eliminates the paper,
Correct.
and it's very transparent as to what they're punching in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Jim brings up the rear.
How come it keeps asking, what is my name?
Well, it's just a holding thing there.
Oh, okay.
You see, you're up on the screen.
Gotcha.
I asked the same question, Kira.
Well, yours hasn't gone in, so type your name in again. Your name will show up below that in the blue once you.
also says Dan Elms, if that's his real name.
There you go. There, you're up there now. You're good.
Thank you.
So you're on the screen.
Oh, thank you.
I want a little emoji.
All right, looks like everybody's in. Great, we can forward to the next slide. Oh, do I have the power?
You have the power.
I have the power. So that's me. I'm Tina Fisher. Angela Christ is online. Today is our kickoff, setting expectations and team building for the strategic planning project. So I'll turn it over to your town manager.
Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate you guys coming out, Mayor, Vice Mayor, councilors. It's a great opportunity for us as we talk about capital improvement, comp plans, strategic planning plays a huge part in all that. And I think this is going to give us an opportunity to set the tone, for you to set the tone for the next several years to come on how you your vision on the town. There'll be other stakeholders that are going to be interviewed. There's other people in the community. We're going to have more community meetings and things of that nature. So it's going to be a collaborative effort from the whole entire community. So we're hoping that everybody participates in a very positive way and has a lot of input. All input's going to be welcome, and I know that the process that's set up is really going to be something that we're all going to be proud of when we get the finished product. So I'll turn it back over to you. Can I?
Thank you very much.
I want to ask a question if I could.
Mhm.
So, Andy, you mentioned, we just had an excellent presentation recently about the impact fees and how important having a capital improvement plan is,
Yes.
and how it's going to be tied to the impact fees. We're renewing or refreshing our comp plan, and then we have the strategic plan. Do we have a strategy in place to prevent redundancies? Because I know they're all unique and different, but at the same time, there's a lot of redundancies between the three.
Correct.
And how do we prevent that from happening?
I think, obviously, it's always difficult to do, but I think the continuity of you and having you involved at this step and then every phase as we go through, the way that it's all tied together, you might can answer some more of that better than me. But I think that's the key. You guys, the five of you are the key to making sure it all stays focused and it doesn't get too far out there. You know, something over here is counterproductive to something over here. It just and this is the driving force for everything, for, you know, staff evaluations, for how Joe does his budgeting, for how we do our redevelopments and things of that nature. This is all tied together. But Tina, I don't know if you have any additional,
Yeah, she can hear.
you have any additional to add to that? Andy?
Yeah, actually, if I may go to the next slide, I think the project plan might answer some of those questions. You also have that in your agenda. It's the second page of your agenda, which you may or may not have in front of you.
Page 3.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so before you is the project plan and timeline. This is sharing, and this is USF's project plan, so I am standing in the place of Angela to share this. They are the drivers of this project plan. We have partnered with them with a number of different cities and municipalities, and this is an amazing process. Phase 1 is the data gathering and collection. Phase 2 is where we actually design the plan, and Phase 3 is implementation. So starting with 1.1, that was January, town council kickoff, that's today. And then you'll see 1.3, communications outreach, 1.4, individual group stakeholder interviews, that'll happen in March, resident feedback survey, April, and then so forth. Community focus group, which is where Collaborative Labs comes back, is for Community Focus Group Forum 1, May 28th. So on behalf of Angela, wanted to let you know they use a participatory methodology, which allows us to be fluid and flexible. So this is a building process. They use one step in the process and it builds on another. So, for example, after they do the stakeholder interviews, the information they glean from the interviews is used to build the survey. And then the survey data is used to help with the community focus group. So every step just builds and builds and builds, collecting as much information as possible. So your role is to be sponges during this process. Attend the forums and listen to what our residents have to say. Read the real-time records, which I'll share that in just a minute, and stay up to via the strategic plan portion of the website. So this phase is an opportunity for citizens, employees, residents to provide their feedback. And if you're a resident as well, you provide your feedback via the resident survey. Phase 2 is where we get to the nuts and bolts, because you don't want to start throwing out ideas now until we collect all the information. We want you to have all the data from interviews, from focus groups, from surveys. So you will, in phase 2, review all collected data, add your insights, and develop or tweak the vision, mission, goals, and objectives. So you'll see phase 2, 2.1, Leadership Forum. That's where you look at all the material that has been gathered and you contribute your nuts and bolts ideas to move forward with the vision, mission, goals, objectives. It's just a building process. Josh, is Angela online? Is she able to communicate? I just want to see if she has anything to add. Angela, did you have anything to add? I don't know if you want to unmute and if you have anything to add to that.
All good.
Can I,
Part of the strategic plan.
since you just went through this, I'm gonna ask another question.
Sure.
We're also trying to complete our comprehensive plan, and I know they're different, but at the same time, there's a lot of similarities. How do we prevent redundancies? Is that, Tracy, are you gonna help us with that? Because I know this, we're hiring another firm to come and help facilitate the comprehensive plan discussions, and they're also gonna have outreach, they're gonna have special targeted groups. It seems like there's potential synergies there,
Yeah.
and are you all talking to each other?
I think that, what Andy had described about us being consistent participants in each one of these areas will help ensure that there's not redundancy and actually support each one of the plans. So as we work through the strategic plan and we create those overarching goals, then things about the comp plan will come in and support those specific goal areas. Things about our other plans will come in, but the strategic plan should be the overarching plan, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then those other pieces are the pillars underneath it. So I think of it kind of as the details, the nuts and bolts of a certain goal. So the comp plan could be one of those pillars that is gonna help us meet one of our goals in the strategic plan.
And I think that's great. I think too, we need to figure out how to respect the public's time, because I don't know if this group is aware, but after Hurricane Ian, the FEMA folks came in and they had a number of community forums where people put stickers on walls, and it really didn't seem to, it just took a lot of people's time. And I don't want to create cynicism from folks who are trying to rebuild their lives. I want to make sure when they come in, that they don't have to go to a comp plan meeting and then a strategic plan meeting and then another comp plan meeting and then a strategic, whether it's similar, I know they're different concepts, but I want to respect, if somebody comes in from the public and they have views on, maybe they could convey their views on both the strategic plan and the comp plan at the same time, so they don't have to go to 4 or 5 evening meetings instead of 2.
One of the
Just thinking out
things-
loud.
Yes, one of the things the website will have with strategic plan is an area for the community to make public comments, so that if they have suggestions about the comp plan and the strategic plan, they'll be able to combine those in that forum, and so we'll be able to gather that information.
But if this group is hosting 3 evening meetings, and then the group that's doing our comp plan is hosting evening meetings, then the poor public's got 4 to 6 meetings versus 2 to 3 meetings, or, we obviously want that public input, but we also want to respect their time.
Right, well
Yep.
said,
Yeah,
yes.
just thinking out loud,
Yep.
yep.
Thank you, Jane.
Noted. I'll make sure Angela hears that. They're trying to get Angela online. So the USF, Florida Institute of Government, is the group that is orchestrating and coordinating our strategic planning project. And we're proud to be a part of it as the conveners and be able to get as many great ideas from the public and yourselves as we can. So that question, I'll make sure that Angela is able to respond to that as well. All right.
I think too, Tracy, if you got together with Sarah, who's helping with this firm, that would be great. Yep.
The key is, if you'll see, it says, what are those key dates for your engagement? a lot of it is there's a lot of community focus groups. There's a couple in there, there's 2 in there. And we create what is called a real-time record. And that is a robust Word document that has all the comments that were made. So you'll be able to, if you're not able to attend one of the community focus groups, you'll be able to read the real-time record and see what information came out of that focus group, as if you were there. Josh, can I forward, please, on the slide? Thank you. All right, so this is really important. The team worked hard and got the strategic plan on the website. So on the top left in the red font is strategic plan. So when you go to fortmyersbeachfl.gov, you'll see strategic plan. You'll click on that, and you'll see the page on the right. So these are just screenshots. Just wanted to let you know everything we do will be posted on this site. So you'll be able to see the flow from phase 1, 2, and 3. All of the agendas, real-time records, everything will be posted on here. Can you forward to the next slide? I'm not able to do it from the, thank you. All right, so our agenda today is leveraging our collective strengths, determining what you want your leadership legacy to be as a council, setting expectations to support our strategic journey as a council, and reflections from a year ago. That was held, I believe, on April 29th, 2024, pre-hurricanes. So our team to support you, my name is Tina Fisher. I'm your facilitator and director of Collaborative Labs. We have Anne Marie Bosch. She's our documenter. So she's capturing all the notes for us today, which we do produce a real-time record. Again, it's a Word document, has all the slides, all the ideas, comments. It's not a transcript. It's not a court transcript, but it's pretty close. And she generates that, and we will provide it to you within 3 to 5 business days. We have PJ, who is our technologist and also our cameraman. So smile when he takes your picture. And then Jonathan Massey will be here shortly. I believe he's caught in traffic. He's our visual illustrator, so he will be developing a visual illustration. Oh, you can hear. Okay. Angela, did you hear when we reviewed the project timeline?
No, I'm so sorry. We were having technical difficulties, and I apologize I'm not there, but we all have influenza A, so I would not want to get any of you sick, so I apologize for not being there. But no, I could not hear anything until right now.
Okay, Josh, can you go back to the slide that had the project plan? And Jim, would you mind repeating your question? Because I wanted to give Angela a chance to respond to that.
Angela, good morning. Just a thought. We're revising and updating our comprehensive plan, and I know it's different than a strategic plan, but there are a lot of redundancies, and we've hired a firm to help facilitate that, and they've been working with us for quite a while on this comprehensive plan update. And they're also calling for focus groups and public meetings, et cetera, and the public, again, you guys weren't here for a lot of this, but after the storm, FEMA and the county facilitated a number of public gatherings where people put stickers on the walls and talked about their feelings and so forth. I just want to respect the public's time, and I just was hoping that, Angela, you could work with the team that's doing the comprehensive plan and with our team so there's not a lot of redundancies. And when the public's asked to gather, their time's valuable, they're rebuilding their lives, they could maybe comment on both the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan at the same time, saving them some effort and some evenings out, and just create some synergies between the two. And obviously we've got this capital improvement plan that has to be even more refined because we're starting to implement impact fees, and the impact fees are very contingent upon our having a very, very well-defined capital improvement plan. So it's going to involve a lot of coordination to respect the public's time. Obviously we want their input, welcome their input, but I want to respect their time and not have redundant multiple meetings where people then get discouraged, because I think some of the early meetings we had after the storm, I think some folks walked away a bit discouraged.
Okay, and I'm sorry, when you say early meetings that you had, was that with the comp plan?
No,
or?
we had some with it. We had quite a few with the comp plan, which were challenging, but we had a number of them as FEMA was trying to disseminate money to the county. Their process required a lot of community gatherings where people had little stickers that they put on the wall and talked about what they thought was, and they went all around Lee County, and we did a number of those here. Folks came out for a couple hours, and again, it was very general in concept, and I think folks walked away kind of wondering, how do I get those 2 hours of my life back? And I
Right.
want to help prevent those
So-
redundancies. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a couple comments on that. So first, I would say that completely understand resident and citizen fatigue, especially when a lot of them are probably still rebuilding in many regards. And so, however, our process is and I think Tina may have mentioned this, I don't know, I couldn't hear, but a participatory method, but it's also a building process. And what I mean by that is all of the data that we get from each of the tasks, we use in the next phase, the next task. So for example, any information we've gathered thus far helped us create the agenda for today. Same thing with when we get to the community focus groups. So our focus groups will be a little bit different. While some of the questions, they may be doing a SWOT, but the comprehensive plan is really focused on land use, not just vision and mission. And so we can look at when those meetings are occurring. Happy to do that, happy to get with Tracy. But again, our focus groups are using data that we've collected upon the way and building it. So they're not just offset, meaning it's not just a traditional kind of SWOT analysis, if you will. We are specifically using the data that we've collected throughout our current process. So we can look to schedule them for the use of their time. I agree with you. We don't want them fatigued, and making sure that we're not having 2 in 1 week, or making sure that they don't say, hey, I just attended one last month and it was very similar. But in our process, the comp plan should be a goal in the strategic plan. They are 2 very different documents, but the comprehensive plan is part of the strategic plan. And so we will coordinate with Tracy and Andy, making sure, but we still need to have our focus groups, and they cannot be in place of, they can't, I don't want them combined with the comp plan, because then it loses the value of what we're trying to do.
Okay, I just wouldn't, that's fair, and I appreciate that. I just would encourage you to take a look at our current comp plan, because it is a document that is very general in nature and is not solely focused on land use. So it has a lot of broader sort of directional themes in it, and some very general sort of strategic planning type language in it. And,
Sure.
So just might take a look at that. It seems a little broader than just a land use plan, but again, it's as long as everybody's talking to each other and we do our best to try to prevent redundancies,
Yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely. And we will review, one of the things that we will also be reviewing, just so you know, if there's any other reports besides the comp plan that have come to light or that have happened within the last, say, 3 to 5 years, we will ask for those as well. And I will go through, and my team will go through, and we will go through to make sure that there's synergy, so you're not reinventing the wheel. Absolutely, 100%, we will do that.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Angela. All right. So again, we were brought in, and I'm going to take this out because we're not normally ones to stand behind a podium. Our group was brought in for collaboration. If you're okay with getting a little bit uncomfortable, we typically do our work in a team. Would you mind switching from your seats up here to teamwork? We're going to work in a team. And we'll have the mics there so everybody can be heard. I might have to share with you all as well, because we have the 2 mics here. Oh yeah, feel free to bring your nameplates with you as well for our documenter. Thank you.
I know,
Ready.
I know, right?
Thank you for indulging me for a collaborative lab. Doesn't it make it more fun? We're around a table, we can see each other. Sure. Thanks. Okay. And you can still see the screen, which is great. Do you have your work phones with you as well? Do you have your phone with you? Does anybody need me to grab their phone for the QR code? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Great. Grab the QR codes. We have these. All right. Just in case we need to
Karen,
scan them
you'll probably
again.
have to pull your mic closer to you, too.
Yes. And I'll share this one too. All right. So our first activity is you're all coming in. I read your bios on the website. You have a wealth of knowledge about this community. Your passion is very telling. What we would like to find out in this exercise is what leadership strengths you're bringing to the table. So take a look at the screen to either behind you or in front of you there. And I would love for you to think which two align most with your leadership style. So we have our northerners. Our northerners are action-oriented. They like to just say, let's do it, let's get things done. They like to act, try things, plunge in. South, those are our southerners. They're our empathetic, caring folks. Want to make sure that all of our residents' feelings have been taken into account and their voices have been heard before making decisions. Then we have our Westerners. Those are our analytical, our ones who like to focus on the data, likes to know the who, what, when, why, where, crosses the T's, dots the I's, make sure you have all the data before you make a decision. And then we have our Easterners. Those are our visionary. They like to look at the big picture and all the possibilities before acting. So take a minute and think about which two most align with your leadership style, your leadership approach in your role on the council. Everybody have their two in their mind? Okay. Let's go ahead. I'm going to switch to, we're going to activate the poll. What two compass strengths best align with your leadership approach? Oops. Back up. Not that one. No, not that one. That's the wrong question. Thank you, Josh. Nope, not that one. Thank you. There we go. All right, so please select two. Looks like so far we have quite a few northerners. That's the correct one, yes. Thank you.
Can you
So-
give it to him in paper, please?
So select two. Yeah, you can hit dismiss on that. Yeah, there you go. All right, so we have, and you see in the upper right-hand corner, it says 10. That means we had 5 people, 2 responses each. That's fantastic. What do you think? Northerners, a lot of action-oriented folks on this council. And then next would be our Easterners, our visionary, looking at the big picture, followed by our empathetic Southerners, and then a couple of analytical folks. So I want you to share next, if you would, and we'll just do a round robin. Whoever wants to go first. Oh, can you switch to the next slide, please, Josh? Next one. Next one. Thank you. So, if you would, and we'll just take turns going around the council, if you would, tell us what two compass directions you chose and what strengths would you like to share with your fellow council members to let them know that how they can work with you effectively. Who would like to go first? What strengths do you have and what two directions? Okay, thanks.
I think Scott Safford for the record, and most of my fellow council people know this. I'm more of a numbers guy, so I'm definitely analytical, less. I'm also visionary at, based on what our actions are, what are the results going to be.
Yeah.
So,
So definitely show you the data.
mhm.
Show me the data and then visionary.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing.
Let's go next.
Karen.
So I'm Karen Woodson. I am definitely north, action oriented. It drives me crazy how long things take sometimes. And visionary. I've always looked at the big picture. I've always managed huge teams. I was the one that set the direction, and I had all kinds of staff to pick up all those details. So
You probably relied on your staff and had some good teams. Yeah, you have
really
to.
fun staff.
Yeah, wonderful. Your action oriented is going to be very helpful as we go into the leadership forum and helping us refine our vision and mission and values for the city. So thank you.
Or it's going to be really annoying.
Well, maybe you'll just help keep everybody on track. Let's go. We got to make a decision. Move on. All right, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm definitely action oriented. For me, the second one is difficult because they all kind of tie together for me. Kind of like, in order to make decisions, I think you have to have all of those, right? You can't just go by someone's feelings or, what necessarily the public wants, because the public might not always agree. But you have to be visionary as well to see into the future as best you can, based
Yeah.
on what people's, empathy, empathetic, it's kind of that's a weird one for me, because
Yeah.
that should be more about what does the public want, because at the end of the day, that's who we work for, right?
Right.
And analytical, I'm like Scott. I'm probably as close to Scott when it comes to numbers. What are the details? So in order to make the decisions, you have to have it, but you have to be willing to act on the information that you have. You can't always, in my opinion, wait until you have everything. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. When I looked at your time frame, it about fell out of my chair at 2 years to come to do this. That would drive me crazy. But so for me, I think it's a kind of combination of both. But I picked north and south just because, to make decisions, you got to take everybody's feelings, if that's what you want to call it, on your
Yeah,
survey.
absolutely.
Into account.
So, Angela, I don't know if I'm assuming you're hearing this, and it's probably music to your ears hearing about the folks who like the data, because that means you'll be reviewing the real-time records and hearing what the data, the surveys say, the focus groups say. So you're going to have a lot of data. Like she said, it's a very building process. So fantastic. All right, Jim, you're next.
Yeah, I would say certainly number one, which is action-oriented. I look at the projected timeline, and I almost fell out of my chair as well. If the mayor, this seems like something we could do in 3 months, but I understand there's a process and respect that. But I, and it's mixed with the visionary dynamic in the sense that I like to find out. I'm a problem solver. Tell me what the problem is. Bring people together, listen to their concerns, and then solve problems. So this to me is a challenge and a problem that we need to solve and get on the books so we can measure our success and give us a vision for the future. And it seems like something that certainly we need here as a town, but at the same time, I look at the timeline, and to me that seems like a long time given what it's already been 2.5 years since the hurricane, but I'm willing to keep an open mind.
Thank you. Angela, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to the 2-year timeline.
Yes. So, even though it is 2 years, usually phase one, so there's 3 phases of the project, right? So phase one is this kind of data gathering and collection, which I was talking about at the beginning, where we build, right? So we're getting information from the key stakeholders, from the citizens, from the residents, from the employees. And we're going to share all that with you. And there will be, as you will see, there will be some strategic themes and some things that begin to come to the top. We'll take a look at the comp plan and all the other plans. And then in phase 2, that's really the design of the plan. Okay, that's where the rubber hits the road for all you action people in there. You will love it because that is where the goals and objectives will be created, decided. The third phase is the implementation phase, and that phase is the phase that takes a whole year. So by the end of the first 12 months, you're going to have goals and objectives. It does take a little while at the beginning to get all of the data. I would say phase 1 and phase 2, usually we can do in about 9 to 12 months. It just depends on schedules, if you guys break for the summer, all of those things. However, phase 3, that is where Collaborative Labs comes in, and they actually go through the implementation with you and do quarterly check-ins. So by the end of 9 to 12 months, you will have the design of the plan, but you will be in the implementation phase for the last year. And the one thing I always stress, our strategic planning process is very different than probably any that you have gone through. It is fluid and flexible, and I cannot say that enough. It is not meant to be in a 3-ring binder that sits on a shelf. You're in government. It is extremely important that you remain in that mindset of fluid and flexibility. And what I mean by that is the goals and objectives that you come up with when you design should not change. Okay? However, if you have another major hurricane that comes, or you get a windfall of money, your priorities within those goals and objectives, may change. So I hope that kind of explained a little bit that you will have something within the next 9 to 12 months, but the second year of it will be totally focused on the implementation, making sure it's embedded in the culture of the organization, and how you're reporting out, not only to yourselves, but to the community.
Jim, did that answer your question? Yeah. Oh, commenting. Yes, thank you. All right. What 2 compass directions do you most align with, and what key strengths do you want your council members to know?
John R. King, I think a good leader encompasses all of them. I see that in my colleagues as well. For me, though, I think mostly my strengths are action-oriented and empathetic.
All right. Great. And what strengths, how do you feel your strengths will lead and assist the strategic planning process? Get it done?
We'll find out.
It's like it's an unknown journey. All right. Thank you for sharing your leadership strengths. The next one I have for you, and Josh, I'm not able to move forward. What do you want to be remembered for as a council? So here we have 5 leaders representing Fort Myers Beach. What do you want to be remembered for? So I'm going to ask you can submit one idea, multiple ideas, and then we'll have a thumbs up where you'll get to choose, you'll get to pick 3 out of all the ideas that are coming in. I see recovery was the first one, and I'm right there with you. I'm in St. Pete by the Treasure Island Bridge, and I'm currently not in my house. I'm rebuilding. I got walls as of today. Yes. Thank you, Scott. Financially viable town with strong reserves. Sustainable future. Mayor, can you expand on that sustainable future by what you meant? Here, let me grab the mic for you, or unless you're able to. I don't want to reach over you.
I think that kind of dovetails into what Scott put up there as far as financially viable. I mean, you're not going to be a town if you're not financially viable, but that finance is only one part of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, clean water, a good combination between tourism and community, which is what this island has been since its inception. I think that's very, very important. So to me, that's what I mean by sustainable future.
Thank you. And then, John, you're really a voice of the residents, voice of the people with your comment. I'm not concerned with legacy. That's for others to decide. Just try to do my best to move this town forward. And then Jim did well rebuilding Fort Myers Beach after Hurricane Ian in a comprehensive manner. I'm going to pause. Angela, is there anything that you want, that you gleaned from their responses that you
No,
want?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Karen, thank you. Integrity made a difference in the redevelopment of the island, both financial and security of the future. All right. If anybody else putting in any other responses? I see Scott typing. If you would, please use the thumbs up and select your top 3. Oh, I see another one. Thank you. Balance of residents, business, and tourists. Oh yeah, hit the show all.
You want to select 2, is that what you said?
Select 2. Yeah. Or actually, no, I said select 3. I did say 3.
Okay.
Select 3. Give you more options there.
Right.
These are good ideas. Nothing. You don't have to push anything. You got your thumbs up. You're good. You're going to be an expert in this. My father-in-law was mayor of St. Pete in the 90s, and I think he had a flip phone, and I think still to this day he has a flip phone.
Have made a comeback.
Yes, yes. All right, I still have a couple more coming in. I'm going to give it a minute. What looks like's rising to the top is the balance of residents, business, and tourists, sustainable future, and the fact that we did well rebuilding Fort Myers Beach after Hurricane Ian in a comprehensive manner, using that as a guide for the future. And then integrity made a difference in the redevelopment of the island, both financial and security of the future. Wonderful. Okay, can we
Tina,
switch? Yes. hold on.
Tina,
Yeah.
can just for my purposes, since I'm doing the stakeholder interviews and doing a lot of the data, can someone expand a little bit on the balance of residents, businesses, and tourists? Whoever put that in there?
That was Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the easiest thing is, this island has always been kind of a tripod, if you will, between the tourists, the residents, and the businesses. And we've always said, at least I've always said, and I know my fellow council members have said it as well, without one, that tripod tips over. So you don't want to go too far in one direction and not look at the other two. You don't want to be too much of a tourist town because then you don't have your community. You don't want to be too much of a community, then you don't have your businesses. So it kind of all ties together in a triangle would be the best way to say it.
And then those, and within.
Okay.
You can almost make it a four-legged stool where you have residents and snowbirds, because their wants and needs are a little bit different.
Those are
Okay.
who are here, right?
Thank you.
During the winter months. Yeah, a little bit different.
Seasonal residents.
Seasonal residents. All right. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it. All right, Josh, if we could switch back to the slide and go to the next slide, please. Next one. Thank you. All right, so in the strategic planning process, it's really helpful to use improv principles, which is helpful to keep a very positive, upbeat, let's keep growing on our ideas frame of mind. So Josh, if you would one by one, please go through. So the first is listen and agree. That's the first improv principle. So don't try to implement, solve, or judge an idea. We're just listening. So phase one is all about listening. Our role as Collaborative Labs is to get as many ideas out on the table. So when we heard you have a lot of citizens who are going to be at the community focus group, we're like, well, let's get a space big enough. We want as many voices as possible. We want everybody to be heard. Say yes and. This is the hardest part because you want to, some of us like to play devil's advocate, or we want to say, but if we did this instead. Yes and is one where you just say yes to an idea and expand and build on all ideas. So all ideas are going to be on the table. Make your partners look good. So that's just let your partner be the hero. There are no mistakes. We're going to collect a lot of ideas. Some may seem really off the wall, but we're going to collect all of them. That's where the building process that Angela talks about. So mistakes are invitations to create. They're stimulating anomalies, if you would. Serve the good of the whole, which you've already demonstrated that with the legacy that you want to leave as a council. No defensive or competition. Everyone's free to create. Keep the energy going. No matter what is given or what happens, you accept it and keep the energy going. Unlike in everyday life where people stop to analyze, criticize, or negate, in improv and in strategic planning, we're just going to keep moving, collecting all the ideas. And the last one, be changed by what is said. Each moment is an opportunity. We have information that is shared by our citizens, by our business owners, our residents, seasonal residents. Just allow it to inspire you. And I like this quote from Michelle James. I see them as rules of engagement for a more peaceful, co-generative, co-creative, sustainable world. So I found this really cute video clip with Tina Fey and former Google CEO Eric Schmidt that can demonstrate this principle.
It has a lot of lessons in it. So for example, stop, I've got a gun.
The gun I gave you for our wedding anniversary, Eric, how could you?
We're not married.
Aha, we're not married is a denial. We've learned our first improv lesson. It's very hard, it takes a long time to learn.
This is the problem with an engineer trying to learn it.
It takes a long time to learn those basic rules of improv.
So why don't you take us through them, and they're in the book.
Sure, they're in the book, because I was an improviser at Second City and at a place called the Improv Olympic in Chicago, and I talk in the book about improv having really kind of changed my professional life and even sort of my worldview a little bit. There are some basic rules of improvisation. When you're creating something out of nothing, the first rule is to agree, which is to say yes, which we did do that successfully. You said, freeze, I have a gun, and I didn't say, that's not a gun, that's your finger. I said,
Which is what a Google person would say.
yeah, well, no, I don't know.
Okay.
So we agreed, and the next rule is yes and, which is to add on to what you've already agreed upon. So the gun I gave you for our wedding anniversary, how could you? And then we hit a brick wall, Eric. But it's a very, it's funny because it's some very famous comedians there's an old story about Joan Rivers was at the Second City briefly in 1959, 1960, and they use this in class at Second City all the time, that there was someone came in, said, I want a divorce, was the beginning of the scene. She said, I want a divorce, and whoever was with her on stage said, but what about the children? And she said, we don't have any children, which in the moment got a big laugh,
But stops.
but killed the scene. So that's, it's a very
So my response would be,
human instinct.
yes, we have children, I just didn't tell you, that's why we're getting
Yes.
divorced.
Yes. I have some other children.
Yes.
This is exactly why, yeah.
Thank you,
has
Josh.
a lot
Next
of-
slide, please. So I tried this. I have triplets. I have 22-year-old triplets. So I tried to, yes. So, yes. So it. Yes, and so we sat around the breakfast table and we tried to have a conversation using improv principles. It's hard. It's hard to say yes and because you want to, with a free-flowing storytelling atmosphere, you want to maybe take it a different direction. So you have to do it in a way that you're building on what was said prior. So we practice it for a while because it really comes in handy, especially in corporate environments, when you want to have a voice, but you don't want to come off as being antagonistic. So it was a good lesson for them to learn. All right, so the next one, this is so again, this session is all about kickoff, setting the stage, understanding our role. This is where we will establish what behaviors and non-negotiables will we commit to as we embark upon the strategic planning journey for Fort Myers Beach. Could be you're going to attend the community focus groups, you're going to perhaps read all the real-time records. What are the behaviors and non-negotiables as a council that you feel you will want to adhere to during this whole project? When we get all the ideas in, again, we're going to upvote our top 3 and see what rises to the top. Oh, it's his still. Hit refresh. Here, PJ can. Does everybody still say legacy? No, yours. Okay. Look at that. Jim's ahead of the game. Just noted for the record.
Thank you, Jim.
Have an open mind. Demonstrate mutual respect, civility, and tolerance for other viewpoints. Continue to keep an open mind. Look at that. Scott or Dan, we're both in the same alignment. Pay attention to all the data. Don't be afraid to change. PJ, can you come with the cursor going up and down? Just want to make sure we can see all that. Karen, can you share more about what you put with the Be the Leaders?
I think it's our attitude that will show up, and depending on what our attitude is, people are either going to emulate that or they're going to go against it. So if it's a positive attitude, that's what you want everybody to emulate and move forward. So.
Yes. Thank you. And John, what was the? Go ahead, Kara. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't want to be the negative Nellies.
Yes. As leaders, I think it's important to have that positive mindset that we share with our constituents, with our community as we embark, especially on this process. John, what was that? You'll be wherever and whenever. You're going to show up, right, John? Yes. Yes.
Yes, and I will.
Yes, and I will. Oh, how about the don't be afraid to pivot? Yes. We are not having another hurricane. We are not pivoting for another hurricane. We do not have one coming. It is a big word. What can you elaborate more on that? Have you had to pivot in the past?
It seems that's all we've been doing for the last 2.5 years is pivoting. But pivot. I mean, it could be technology-based, it could be employee-based, it could be changing of council members, it could be all kinds of different things. You have to be willing to understand that nothing is set in stone. And, you got to be willing to light on your feet and you need to pivot, as the old boxing coaches used to say.
Yes.
So I've heard.
So you've heard. Pivot is the new word. And Scott, tell me about don't be afraid of change.
There's several parts to it, but but the biggest thing is some people will have new ideas, and you have to be open to them, and don't be, the worst thing we can do is say, we've always done it this way. So you have to have an open mind and embrace change, and sometimes change is good.
Sometimes change is good. Absolutely. Jim, can you share about the mutual respect, please?
Yeah, I think as we wrestle with some challenging issues on this island, there's a constant goal of agreeing to disagree in a way that's civil and shows mutual respect and consideration for others, and some of the issues here we get very passionate about. I think as a council, we've disagreed on some pretty substantive issues, but I think we've maintained a very good aura of civility and respect for each other through that process, and I think that's important. So I think that's, as we shape the future, along with in conjunction with the public, I think as we exchange those ideas, having a mutual respect for even our differences is going to be important.
Yeah. So as leaders, it is your right and responsibility to come to the table with what you want to share is what you think the direction should go. And that's where the healthy discussions come about. So in the leadership forum in phase 2, you're going to hear a lot of information. You will have attended the focus groups, you'll have reviewed the survey responses, and you may have a different perception of what the high priorities are than maybe somebody else on the council, but that's where we have to talk it through to really align the vision and mission and goals of the town. So thank you for that. And then open mind, all right. Were there any others under that continue to keep an open mind? Want to make sure I'm not missing any? And the data. Got to pay attention to the data. And we're going to collect a lot of it. So I know, Angela, how many interviews will you be conducting, Angela? Has that been decided yet?
I'll be interviewing all the council, and then I'll do usually an additional about 20 is what our goal is, to get to 20 in addition to the council.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So some stakeholder interviews, and I believe those names will be determined soon. That's part of the process. All right, if you would, please upvote your top 3. And if you want to select one with an open mind, maybe select the one that's already up there. That's already Scott's one. Yes, 3, please. It looks like the mutual respect got to the top. Whoop, whoop. Mutual respect, civility, and tolerance for other viewpoints. Be the leaders in attitude, positive input, timeliness, and total participation. Pay attention to all the data and have an open mind. That seems like it's very reflective of the folks in this room. That's fantastic. What I'd like to do now is take a 5-minute break so we can set up for the next activity. So we'll take a 5-minute break. It's 11 o'clock now, so we'll resume at 11:05. present. All right, so a year ago, April 29th, 2024, Angela led a session, and she had the group do an activity. Who was a part of that activity? Everybody was here from this group? Okay, wonderful. What was that?
I don't remember.
You don't remember.
That was with my other wife and my children.
Right? The second wife and the third wife.
Before the gun.
Before the gun.
He needs to get back here so I can control him. You get back up here.
So you can mute him.
It's improv.
It's just improv. So what I'd like to do is take a look at what you wrote back in April. So this, of course, pre the next hurricanes. We'll first just take a look at group one. Just take a minute, and a lot of the information that's used in an exercise like this helps build the vision, mission, values, and leans towards the goals. So this is where we really want to hear what's still resonating with you, what you would add to, and Angela may pause and ask you to clarify, but we'll start with just the group one. Any comments about what still resonates? And we'll just rotate the mic, whoever's ready. All right. Scott.
I personally feel that everything in here is still relevant. And I think the one thing I would add is what Jim had alluded to, and we had all agreed on in the last session, that we, grow together, but with grace.
Grow together with grace. Yeah. Got a second.
Your t-shirt is coming. It's funny because you look at this and it's like group two. It's like COVID, Hurricane Ian. We're still in red tide. We're back to red tide. We've had 3 more hurricanes since that.
That's why Groundhog Day is relevant.
Yeah. So, and I think I was in group one, but I cannot remember what the Fountain of Youth was. I have no idea what that was anymore. I don't know, but I think it's all totally relevant. I mean, if you just combine the two,
Yeah.
you would have what is our reality still today.
Yes. You're always going to have, we as on the world are always going to have natural disasters, COVID, red tide. It's just part of it. But what you said, to handle it with grace.
Yeah, I think, all of it is obviously pretty relevant. I can't remember, I think it was in group two, but I think you and I were in group two, but, the one that really sticks out is, and you hear it a lot lately, is quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of life, that's a big 3-letter sentence, so, but it's a, we all moved here for a certain quality of life, and to maintain that, I think, goes back to that tripod we talked about,
Yeah.
keeping that balance, and doing it with grace. I think that those are the things that stick out the most. The rest of this, obviously, to me, is common sense, resiliency, better communication, stronger buildings. I think all that stuff is coming no matter what you do, but to keep that quality of life and that tripod and that gracefulness, I think, is the important part that I would add if I was to do this over again.
Gracefulness. What about the Fountain of Youth?
I don't know how they got to the Fountain of Youth, but
Kidding around.
I believe that was going back to, and I'm sorry who just said it, but it was that quality of life. Going back to, do you have the amenities? Are you providing events, activities? Again, that was kind of the thought, but for everybody as well. So whether it was young families or retirees or, excuse me, seasonal residents coming in.
Okay, so all about quality of life, but not necessarily Fountain of Youth. Yeah. All right.
I think where it came from, that's Ponce, when Ponce de Leon came down here, he was searching for the Fountain of Youth, and I think we took it as we're coming down here to find the perfect place
Yeah.
where everyone gets along and the vibe's still there. It's as Dan said, it's a place where, that offers so much that everybody's welcome and inclusive and can be a part of the community.
Everyone's welcome, inclusive, part of the community, and you also said the word vibe.
Yeah,
And I
well,
feel that at Fort Myers Beach too. There's a vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the first thing out of everyone's mouth is we want to, keep the vibe, say the vibe. There's a circle of life here too, that people come over the bridge and they're just wow, their shoulders drop. They go, wow, this is cool. And then when they hang out, then they come back for a little bit longer, and then they decide to be a seasonal resident, and then they become a full-time resident, and they invest in the community. So there's a few people that are actually from here, and we honor them and respect them, but the vast majority of the people, all of us, I think I'm the longest tenured person here, and it's not
Right.
even coming on 20 years, so, but we respect the past, but we work together.
Respect the past, work together. And you do have a lot of transplants that came and moved here because you felt the vibe and you wanted to live
Right.
here. Thank you. Jim or John?
I don't know what else I can add. I think it's all been covered there. It's all very relevant. So it's all got me.
Yeah, I concur, and I think the mayor stressing the quality of life issue, that's one of our major goals. That encompasses so many things, and I think for many on Fort Myers Beach, the quality of life issue is still under attack as a result of the various hurricanes that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still trying to get back to that point. I know I am.
Do you recall, I'm just looking at some of the words here, like compromise? What came out of the word compromise? Was that between the residents and the businesses and the tourists? What was the meaning of that?
That was more compromise on how we're going to grow forward, whether we're going to stick to the comp plan or change it a little bit or just throw it out. We're not going to do that, but we all have to come. And that's part of the 10-year strategic plan, is that we all compromise and move forward together.
Grow forward. And then improved permitting. So that's one department of the town.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're trying to get people back in their homes, businesses back, and every day is another day that you're not back in your home. And
Yeah.
you're not experiencing the quality of life. We've all we're out of our homes and in limbo, and we want to get out of that limbo, and permitting seemed to be the big sticking point to move that forward.
Do you think that the improved permitting should be carried forward into a vision or a mission, or is that was just something that was just
Constant.
should be a constant? Yeah.
All government services should have to attain that. I think all government services should have to attain that level, and I think we're approaching that here at the town. There's external factors that are beyond the town's control that are impacting quality of life as well.
And then I see a couple things about the buildings. There's strong buildings in the group 1 and architecture and group 2. Can you expand a little bit of that? Are you having everybody raise? Is a certain look and feel? Tell me about the architecture and the buildings. Would like to address that.
Well, I think it's all of the above. We lost 75% of our buildings.
Yes.
And how we build back and with strength and resiliency is huge. But we also want to build back in, we use the word vibe again, but a beach vibe, and that includes architecture. We want to have that funky beach community feel still, and you can do that in larger buildings, but you have to make an effort that you don't just go with the status quo of the movement is contemporary, or the movement is Mediterranean at a time, or whatever it was.
Right.
No, we want to be beachy.
Yeah.
We want to be eclectic and beachy, and if buildings are all different, so be it, even better.
Is that part of, is that written down somewhere? Is it just a general feeling? Is it any kind of guidelines for when you do rebuild, or?
I don't know that it's written down anywhere. I know that when we meet with developers and people that are coming in for their development agreements and that type of thing, it is certainly talked about and stressed, and this is what we're looking for, so that everybody works in that same direction.
Yeah.
It's more so that it's not written down, because when it's written down, it's like, hey, you got these three choices, and it's gotta be this color, and you know, we want everybody to think out of the box.
Yeah, be a little bit more creative. Is there anything in the town, and this is getting in the details, but I'm just curious, anything in the town about the height of buildings or and signage? Okay, I won't go down that path. That sounds like a rabbit hole that I'm going to avoid. Angela, is there anything else that you wanted to glean from
Yes. I want to expand a little because I'm listening, and if we're doing the yes and someone made a comment about there's a lot of kind of external factors that the town cannot control, and so I guess it's kind of a question, but it is kind of building on it. Is when you look back to us doing this a year ago to where you are today, is the challenge of rebuilding while balancing the vision of the town the same or harder than it was a year ago?
I would say this, Angela, since I referenced that quality of life challenge that still exists on Fort Myers Beach, many of them are external. Obviously, we've had additional hurricanes since Hurricane Ian that have just been a gut punch to our residents, businesses, and tourist community. I think the next sentence, I think, sums it up. The town has, for a while, faced enormous challenges of red tide, COVID, and Hurricane Ian, yet came together at a time of great turmoil and rose to the challenge of rebuilding our island and great way of life. That was pre-Hurricane Helena and Hurricane Milton, and I think and Debbie, and so you had a dynamic where we really were responding to, I think, a horrific condition post Ian, I think in an extremely admirable way. And just as we were, brushing the dust off our clothes, we just got pummeled again and again and again, and I think that's taken its toll.
Okay.
Scott's going to add?
And then you add in the economic factors with inflation. We still have supply chain issues. I mean, I've got a friend building a place right now, and nobody was there yesterday because they can't get stuck up. So it's just
and so one of the things that is very, again, it's hard to do the yes and because of all those challenges. So I think one of the things that we will be cognizant of as we go into the community phases of this and gathering data is that it's really hard to focus on strategy and vision and goals when you're trying to survive or rebuild. And so I think that's what is going to be, just in my opinion, is going to be the greatest challenge in this process, is trying to stay at the 100,000 foot level, right? Being able to do that yes and while there are some realistic issues related to just getting supplies or having a place to live. And so I think as council members, that's kind of your role as well, is to help us in that, making sure that we are staying high and strategic.
Thank you, Angela. Is there anything else that we need to add to this that we haven't already covered?
The word that keeps sticking in my head is patience. This island has always been a very patient group of people. It's obviously been challenged over the last 2.5 years due to the 5 storms and everything that was before that, COVID, everything else. Yet we still keep coming through it. So I think it's important to people remember the roots and bring your patience, because you're going to need it for the next couple of years as we go through this process.
Thank you. Patience. Definitely have to have a lot of patience. And thick skin, yes, and thick skin. Angela, is there anything else that you needed to glean from as we develop the vision of Fort Myers Beach?
No, I think I'm good. This was very helpful. I think stuff is still resonating from a year ago, but I think it's recognized that there are more challenges, or the challenges have just increased due to hurricanes. So, no, I think I'm good at this point. I think I have what I need.
Okay, great. You all are probably one of the quickest councils we have, which means that shows alignment, which is wonderful. So we're already at the wrap up. I know Tracy's a little like, oh, lunch isn't here yet, but it is here. Okay, great. All right, so Angela,
Can I just ask
Yeah,
a
go
quick
ahead.
question?
Go
I
ahead.
guess my memory's failing me. These missions that we did roughly a year ago,
Mhm.
help me remember, Andy, what was this process here? Was this connected to a strategic plan? Was this a different group that came in? I remember, do you remember what this was all from? I think we wrote them on whiteboards and,
This was part of the same group.
so this was your group?
This was the kickoff.
it was USF. Yeah, Angela,
It was
Chris.
the introduction, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is you're the same group
Yes.
that's doing this?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
did we just take a respite then after you came in and did this? Or is this part of the process? Just help me connect it together.
I'll let Angela answer that.
Yeah, so it's part of the process. So that was kind of an initial introduction of us and what we do, and getting to know you a little bit so that we could understand what your needs were in order to build the methodology that we felt was best for you. And so that was the initial piece. And then we started working with Andy and his team to develop the proposal. And then 3 hurricanes happened. So there you go.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
Angela, did you want me to take this last slide, or did you want to take this last slide?
Either way, it doesn't matter. I'll make a few comments.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, yeah, sure. So I think I just want to, again, great alignment with you guys. Again, leveraging your strengths as leaders is so critical. And I loved the open-minded, having patience, looking at the data. Those are so critical. And so I just want to share with you, and I'm sorry I couldn't hear at the beginning, but very briefly, kind of my thoughts on your role in phase 1. And so phase 1 is that data collection piece. And so I hope that you will, 1, stay engaged, meaning you should be checking the website. So all the data will be there in terms of any reports that we do. You are more than welcome to obviously attend the community focus groups that we will be having. However, they are for the community. So we will ask you not to participate in those as elected leaders. We highly encourage you to attend. But again, this is the opportunity for the residents to just have a really informal discussion, very similar to, we will be using some of the same technology that we use today. So again, by the time we get to phase 2,
Angela,
we will still.
hold on a second. Karen had a quick question, but before I hand the mic over to her, I was just curious. So if you're gonna discourage our input, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, in the community focus group, because absolutely it's great that it's for the community. I hope you'll announce that to the community so they know why we're not speaking and so forth.
Yes.
Yeah. But Karen has
We
a
do
question.
that. Yeah, we do that at the very, very beginning. This is their opportunity to just kind of share with us, based on the data we've collected, the direction, the vision, their treasures of the town, where they want to see the town going. And we do at the very beginning let them know that.
So my only question or concern maybe, does that change the dynamics of the meeting with us being present? Do they feel like they don't have the freedom to say what they really feel or answer? Or if we don't show up, doesn't mean that we don't care. I mean, it's a little bit
No.
of a catch.
No, so here's what I would say about that. It's really your call on whether you attend or not. We do at the beginning say to them, that we want to let you know that this is your forum. This is for the community residents. You may or may not see some of your elected officials here, town council members. They are invited, but we have asked them not to participate because this is for you. So we are very clear at the beginning, so that way it's, the message to them is you are involved in the process. Our expectation is that you know what's going on and you're supporting getting all this data, but this is for them.
We also let them know that after the community focus groups, we create a real-time record that's posted on the strategic plan portion of the website that everybody has access to. Elected officials, residents, anybody who goes to that site will be able to review the information that was gleaned.
And
Great
so the
questions.
reason why the role and expectation in phase one is that you stay abreast of everything and you're reading the reports, even though we will do a report to you and go through that data. When we get to phase two, that again is where we're designing the plan. So even though we're going to go through everything with you, you being able to understand the data, and you'll begin to see as we go through what strategic themes are kind of rising to the top. But that's really your role in phase one. And then phase two, that's where you're going to be doing all the work. We're obviously there to assist you, but that's what phase two is. So I just
Go ahead. I'm
I'm
just
sorry,
going
and
to
then-
the last slide, Angela, to have the next steps up.
Yes. So just one last thing that I would also say. So I think your other role in this phase one, besides staying abreast of the information, reading through the reports, knowing the data, is you kind of are the connection in the community to the residents. You're those liaisons to the residents, to the town. So the more that you can be a champion for the strategic plan and encourage residents to do the survey, to attend the community focus groups, the more people who are engaged, the better the process is. So I'm good. That I just wanted to share those two things.
All right. Any other questions? Karen has one more question here.
One of the things that just struck me odd, and I don't know, maybe I'm thinking wrong, but you talked about having like 20 people to interview. Is that separate from the community involvement? So that, because I'm thinking if you just invite 20 people, how do you decide to do
Yes.
that? Or is the community, it's totally, they're welcome, and then there's another interview
Correct.
process, if you will, with 20?
You are completely correct. The community is open to however many people. So if 100 people show up, 100 people are going to participate. The community forums are open to everyone. The key stakeholder interviews are a different set of people. And so we have criteria that we shared with Andy and his team around what we're looking for. So obviously I already mentioned all of you will be interviewed, but then we're looking for, are there members who serve on boards and committees? Are there activists in the community who may not show up to all of your meetings, but they're very well respected. They're very engaged. And there's criteria, right? So we look at the credibility, the legitimacy, the urgency, meaning is someone who may be seasonal, but they're very active when they're here. And so we have kind of a set standard of criteria that's a cross-section of the community. Do they own a business? And so we're working with Andy and his team right now to kind of come up with those names of those 20 people. That is completely separate from the community forum.
Yeah, we want as many residents to come to that community focus forum as possible. So when you run into your friends, colleagues, say, hey, we have this coming up, we have a community focus forum, and we have the date here as well on May 28th. So if you would just log that May 28th in your mind, let them know that we're having that forum coming up. We want as many people to come to that. Jim?
Angela, just because there's folks have come to some of these early meetings unassociated to your group, and we're a bit discouraged, can you just help reassure folks who would take the time out of their evening to come to an event like that, how their views would be registered by your group?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, we do that again. And if they're able to attend both community forums, they will see how what they did in Community Forum 1 is then used in Community Forum 2. So same thing with the resident survey that we do. We take the data from that to help us in those. So again, it's all pulled through the whole process. It is not just one off. It is completely built, each step is built upon the other, and we will make sure to reassure them of that in the communications that we send out about the community forums, as well as when we are facilitating.
Angela, in Community Focus Forum 1, you do share some themes that have already come out of the interviews and the survey, correct?
100%, yes.
Yes. So when they come, they will see what they have submitted as a community. And then we build on that just to make sure we're hearing correctly any other additional information, and we use that and build forward. All right. Well, I want to thank you for having our team, Collaborative Labs, as a partner of USF, Florida Institute of Government, here with you and coming off the dais to a round table, which is our favorite way to do things. And it wasn't. We tried, you know. We do have a square, but you're facing each other, so that's good. So thank you so much for your participation today, and I believe we are completed, and lunch is in the back. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. So sorry I wasn't